Imagine a place where dreams come true, a magical kingdom where innocence reigns supreme. Now, imagine a little girl just 8 years old vanishing into thin air in the middle of a bustling crowd. It was 1970, and a visit to Disneyland became a family's worst nightmare. For 2 decades, the case went cold, a tragic mystery swallowed by the passage of time. But then, a relentless flood scours the Southern California landscape, and a farmer checking his property near the park makes a discovery that no one could have predicted. A long-buried piece of evidence that would finally expose a haunting truth and lead to a resolution 20 years in the making. Before we dive into this chilling story, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the unexplained. Introduction. The morning sun barely pierced the thin curtains of Marilyn Halberg's modest apartment in Buena Park, California. 20 years had passed since that dreadful day in 1970 when her 8-year-old daughter Charlotte vanished in what was supposed to be the happiest place on earth. For Marilyn, the passage of time had brought no comfort, only an unyielding pain that was as fresh as if it had happened yesterday. Her life had been consumed by the search, the financial strain of hiring private investigators and printing flyers, forcing her to sell her home, which had become a painful museum of her grief. On this particular morning, a call from the detective who had handled the case, Nolan Barea, shattered her quiet despair. He had a new lead, a discovery that he insisted was different this time. The long, cold case of Charlotte Halberg was about to be reopened. Part 1. The Farmer's Find. Marilyn sat on the edge of her bed, her hand trembling as she listened to Detective Bareja's words. He told her that a farmer near Disneyland checking his property after a recent flood had found an old suitcase partially buried in a dry sewer channel. Inside were a character costume and a child's dress. As he described it, a flash of recognition, a flicker of something she hadn't felt in years, ignited in her. "Marilyn," he said carefully, "it looks like the dress Charlotte was wearing that day in the park." The phone nearly slipped from her hand. After years of false leads and dead ends, she had learned to protect herself with pessimism. But this felt different. She grabbed her old Polaroid camera, the same one she had used at Disneyland that day. She replaced the batteries with hands that barely trembled. Within minutes, an officer arrived to take her to the site not far from her apartment, along a concrete channel that ran on the outer edge of Disneyland. As she arrived, she saw a scene of activity, with police tape and officers taking photos and measurements. Detective Bareja, looking older than she remembered, introduced her to the man who found the suitcase, a weathered farmer named James Beckett. Part 2. The Evidence Revealed. With a heavy heart, Marilyn approached the open suitcase. The farmer, James Beckett, told her how he had found the old red suitcase after a flood had washed away years of accumulated sediment from a dry sewer channel. Inside, the items were meticulously preserved as if they had been placed there just yesterday. There was a faded character costume, and beneath it a child's dress, its bright red fabric now a muted crimson. Marilyn's breath caught in her throat. She knew it immediately. The dress was a miniature version of one her mother had sewn for her, a special outfit for the Disneyland trip. Next to it was a small, tattered purse, a gift from her father. The detective pointed to a small embroidered C on the collar of the dress. "This is it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "This is Charlotte's dress." She then saw the most horrifying detail. On the inside of the purse in her daughter's own handwriting was a note. "Mommy, I'm here." The small detail confirmed not only that it was Charlotte's, but that she had been there alive after her disappearance. The discovery was not a sign of hope, but a chilling realization of what had been hidden for so long. Part 3. The Polaroid Secret. After Marilyn identified the items, Detective Bareja led her to a small table where a crime scene technician was carefully examining the suitcase's contents. Among the items was an old Polaroid camera. The camera had been found inside the character costume along with 2 undeveloped photographs. The technician carefully processed the photos, and as they developed, a haunting truth began to emerge. The first photo was a picture of Charlotte with a character from the park, but in the background, a man with a wide smile and a dark mustache was partially visible. The second photograph, however, was a shocking close-up. It was a photo of a man's hand holding the same character costume that was in the suitcase. On the back of the second photo in faded ink were the words, "He's a nice man. He gave me candy and a balloon." Marilyn's heart sank. This was not a chance encounter. This was a carefully orchestrated abduction. The Polaroid camera, a symbol of happy memories, had been used to document the last moments of her daughter's life, a horrifying story, told through 2 silent images. Part 4. A New Kind of Search. With the new evidence from the Polaroid photos, the police had a new lead. They had a photo of the man who was last seen with Charlotte, and they had a photo of his hand confirming he had taken her. The photo was too grainy for facial recognition, but the police released it to the public, hoping someone would recognize the man. The new investigation, led by Detective Bareja, focused on a man who had worked at Disneyland in 1970. The man, a low-level employee named John Clark, had a record of minor offenses and had a history of mental instability. Clark, who had worked as a character actor, was a perfect fit for the profile of the man in the photo. He had been fired from Disneyland shortly after Charlotte's disappearance for unspecified reasons. A new search was underway, not for a missing girl, but for a man who had been hiding in plain sight for 20 years. The search led them to a quiet town in Oregon, where Clark, now an old man, was living under a new name. When confronted by the police, he denied any knowledge of Charlotte's disappearance. But the evidence, the photos, and the suitcase all pointed to him. Part 5. The Final Truth. In the end, John Clark confessed. He told the police that he had been obsessed with Charlotte, a quiet, polite girl who reminded him of his own daughter who had died years before. He said that he had lured her away with the promise of more candy and balloons. He said that he had taken her to his home, a small, quiet house not far from Disneyland. He said that he had not harmed her, but that he had kept her for a few days before he realized the gravity of his actions. He said that he had then released her and she had run away back towards Disneyland. The police searched the area and a new search party was formed. This time, the search was successful. Charlotte's body was found in a shallow grave near the abandoned house, not far from the dry sewer channel where the suitcase was found. The final truth was a heartbreaking one. Charlotte had been alive for a few days after her disappearance, but she had not been able to find her way home. The suitcase, the Polaroid photos, and the final note in her purse were not a message of hope, but a silent testament to a life cut short, a secret buried for 20 years. The tragic story of Charlotte Halberg is a haunting reminder that some mysteries are not solved by detectives, but by the relentless hand of time. It leaves us with a lingering question. If the flood had never happened, would the truth of Charlotte's disappearance have ever been revealed? If this deep dive into true crime and unsolved mysteries captivates you, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that notification bell. Leave a like and share your theories in the comments below. Your support helps us bring more compelling stories to light. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.